I'm going to be very, very transparent with you all. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to be transparent because I want as many people as possible to understand that if you see these signs and symptoms in your child, please, please, please talk to your pediatrician, because the sooner that you get help, the better. Hey, you guys, it's Lady Breeze, and I'm back. What you said, I'm back. Say it again, I'm back. Hey, y'all, I'm back. For those of you that are new to my channel, I am Lady Breeze. I am a wife and a mother of 4. And I just want to thank you all so much for all of the views, all of the love. Y'all showed out on my last video. Kudos to y'all. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. For those of you that don't know, I have 2 children on the autism spectrum. And believe it or not, my son and my daughter, their forms of autism are so different. In the beginning, my son would walk on his tiptoes. And I just assumed that, maybe he didn't like the textures of the carpet in our home at the time, especially whenever he would transition from carpet to like the tiles in the kitchen floor. He would constantly walk on his tiptoes. And so at first I really didn't pay much attention because I was like, maybe that's what kids do or whatever. But then I noticed that he started doing it more often. Then he started doing it every time he would walk. So that was kind of like mind-boggling to me. But again, I wasn't really familiar with children, so I didn't really know if that was normal or not. Then I noticed that he would get excited about just anything. Like, he would sit in his room at nighttime. I would leave his TV on because he didn't like the dark, but I would turn the volume all the way down. He would sit in his room and he would look at the walls and he would be laughing. He'd be like, just laughing. And I'm like, okay, I know there's nobody in there with him, so why is this boy in there laughing? And I mean, he would just be cracking up, y'all. It'd be so funny. Like, I'd be sitting there laughing and I don't even know what he's laughing at. And so then I noticed that he would do his hands like this, or he would do his hands like this. And whenever we would go outside and it was like really sunny, really bright, just a nice day, and the sun is like shining and booming, he would do this, and he would put his hands to his eyes and he would look around and he would do this, and then he would do this, and then he'd jump and he'd hop on his tiptoes, and he was constantly going. And I'm like, is he hyper? But then my daughter, on the other hand, was completely opposite. She never did the finger motions and the flapping and the jumping. She never did none of that. All she did was walk on her tiptoes, and she was so overly sensitive. Like, I know kids cry. No, baby. She was so sensitive. She would, from the time she wake up to the time she went to sleep, she would just basically whine. It wasn't like it was like from the pits of her stomach, like she was going through some stuff, like that all day long. And so I talked to the pediatrician, and she was like, well, maybe she's really depressed. And I'm like, really thinking to myself, now what this child got to be depressed about? She ain't got to pay no bills. Her biggest decision she ever got to make in life is whether she want to play with this toy or that one, whether she want to eat this or that. Like, to me, it seemed like it was a simple fix, but to her, it was like literally the end of the world. And so I had to basically change the way that I looked at things. You have the walking on tiptoes for both kids. Then you have the flapping of the hands from my son. You have the hands close to the face from my son. And you have the overly sensitive, crying a lot, very emotionalness from my daughter. Then on top of that, they began to get ear infections all the time. If my husband and I would try to like call their name or talk to them, they would just be sitting there staring off in space like they ain't heard a thing. I'm like, I know these kids can hear me, and I'm yelling at them. They didn't hear a thing. So I talked to the pediatrician and I told her this, and she said, well, let's send them to the ENT. So they sent them to the ENT, which is an ear, nose, and throat specialist. He looked at their ears and he said, yeah, they have fluid on their ears. They have an ear infection. We're just going to give them some antibiotics. Finally, the ENT was like, you know what? These antibiotics ain't doing it. We're going to have to just go ahead and give them ear tubes. So they put the ear tubes in. And after they got the ear tubes, they were able to hear, but they still couldn't talk. So when you have a child who can't talk, it's very, very hard to potty train them. So they also wasn't potty trained. Well, then, so they weren't potty trained. They couldn't talk. Then you had the hand flapping and the sensory and the hands against the face. And then on top of that, they would not give you eye contact. It was almost like they didn't desire to look people in their eyes. People would talk to them and they'd be like, hi, what's your name? And they'd just be sitting there looking at the ground, looking around, looking up. They would not look you in your eyes for nothing in this world. These are signs and symptoms that my children had. Another thing is, I noticed that they were delayed. Other kids were into like age appropriate toys, whereas my son and my daughter were still into toys that were made for 6 to 12-month-old babies. Like if I gave them an age appropriate toy, they didn't know how to play with it. Whenever your child is, I guess, about 1 to 2, somewhere in that range, you begin to teach them, their body parts. With my kids, they love music. So I tried to do the head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. I tried to do that song with them and I would sing it all the time. And I would show them eyes and ears and mouth and nose. And they did not catch on. And at this time, they were about 3 to 4-ish, somewhere around there. They would not catch on. They could not understand it for anything. I even got them the Mr. and Miss Potato Head to try and show them, the eyes go here, the nose goes here. And then like I will work with them as far as like getting them dressed every day. This is your pink shirt. These are your blue socks. And they still never caught on. They couldn't put their clothes on by themselves. They couldn't take their clothes off by themselves. They could only wear shoes with Velcro. They would eat different things that are not food. My children developed pica. I don't know when they developed it. I don't know how they developed it, but I know that they developed it. Their vitamin D levels were extremely low. I'm talking single digits. We've done the wooden bed frame, just the regular brown wooden bed frame. They will literally lay in the bed, and while they're watching their iPad or playing with their toys or whatever, they will sit there and just chew on the bed frame while they doing whatever it is that they're doing. It's not abnormal to them. I've tried the metal bed frames. My son literally took the ladder out of the bed frame, ripped it out the bed frame with the nails, the screws still in the ladder. And I'm trying to figure out how this boy is so strong. Like, how are you doing this and you 4? How? Like, I could not figure it out in my mind. And I seriously thought that I was going crazy. Like, how in the world is this possible? But the pediatrician said that it's normal. With kids and autism, it is so normal. My son chews on his clothes. So I invested a couple $100 in sensory chew toys. And he would chew the toys until they break into pieces and swallow them. Yes. He would literally swallow the pieces of the sensory chew toy. My children will not eat regular foods. the list of foods that they will eat, there's literally about 5 food items, maybe 6 is pushing it, food items that my children will eat. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Please, please, please subscribe. It is free. It doesn't cost you a thing to subscribe to this channel. I'm going to continue to put more videos out about autism and try to bring as much awareness to this channel as I possibly can. Don't forget to go over to my other channels, M and B Dynasty, as well as Lit Gaming with MK, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.